Hello, it's not him. It's just me again, but I'm back again with this huge rocket, which is a mission, a double mission to Jool, and so we need a lot of horsepower and thrust and fuel to get this into carbon orbit. That's why this huge rocket. So let's see what it does. So the launch is pretty normal. There is only one thing that you have to be aware of: the booster separation. You have to be careful not to crash into them, otherwise it's a very easy to handle rocket despite its size. It goes up smoothly, easily. There's nothing really to say about it. Once we are in orbit, we can get rid of all these launch parts and the fairings and spread our wings a little bit to have more effective maneuvering. So it's the usual drill. Have to select a point where we can do an injection burn towards Jool, and it's somewhat easy at this position. However, it's hard to move this huge uh, ship around, at least when its engines are not going. It's not very long burn because of the five main engines, but even then it's still hard to control, so I had to turn off the SAS to make it a viable burn, otherwise it just oscillates despite my best efforts to make it stable. But after this it's not that big problem, so later stages it works better. And of course after that there is this coast phase. I just selected the correction near Jool that will get me closer to the planet. And as last time, I do not dare to do aero capture because it will be sure death. Maybe with 1.1 this will be better, because they mentioned something in the dev notes about hydrogen atmosphere being less heating, generating less heating than others. So hopefully Jool aero capture comes back later. So I'm going this close because of the Obert effect, to have a efficient braking, and also I want to discard these tanks and boosters because they're almost empty. Yeah, they collide into each other, but no, not to worry, the ship is okay, and these debris parts will just fall into Jool without any problem. So I just need to raise my periapsis that I don't go into the atmosphere, and do correct capture burn, orbital correction burn, until I get my apoapsis low enough for a Tylo visit. Now itself it's not enough. One is I still have more than 5 degrees of inclination. I want to fix that, and there is a point to fix that, and it was quite cheap at that point. Another thing, now that I have zero inclination to Tylo, I also have zero inclination to the two inner moons, so Late and Wall, which means I have to be careful not to hit them, and actually this was the problem here. I had to do some maneuvering that takes me to Tylo without actually hitting the sphere of influence of any of the other moons. So that's why there's this not completely optimal approach. So my goal here was to go into a sphere of influence with relatively little delta V, and then I need to do this correction. I was closer to not hit the surface, and there, what comes now is the long burn for capture, and I started too late, so I had to do it in two parts. I also tried to fix the sum of the inclination. It didn't go very well. It fixed it somewhat, but not completely as I wanted it, so somewhat waste of fuel. So I'm around 100 kilometers orbit here and can detach the lander after some checks. And the lander is a kind of strange beast. You can see the cockpit later on when the tanks, the engines are not covering them. So you can see that the engines are facing forward, and there is Jool in all its glory. So I can try to do a somewhat aircraft-like landing, see the surface while I'm braking over the surface. So late approaches about the horizon, and after that later wall will be visible. So now if I reach the point where I can do the burn, I will start it and use the engineer readouts for staging. Soon. And here we go, full throttle. The first pair of tanks. Second pair. Now we are down to the engines, unfortunately. Just about the surface I have to stage one pair. Because there is no gimbal on the arrow spikes, so it's somewhat wobbly as it goes down. Yeah, one pair is finished. Some camera trouble. Doesn't have a lot of reserve delta V, it has enough to do this short hover. What I'm going to do, because I was careful to avoid hitting the ground too hard. Even then some of the legs got damaged, but I had to repair later on. Touchdown. So after this I just got out the guys and the girl, because this time I could bring everybody here, all 4 people. And this was actually the point of this, that finally I assembled something that can carry 4 people, or four care balls. It was more like a kind of a visit without any science goal. Usually I used to put every science on landers, but now this is just for fun and show. It's heavy enough as it is. So everybody is here and they are looking at Jool and the moons on the surface. Enough of this. You have to go back, because the other goal is waiting, and you probably already found out what the other goal is based on the looks of the ship. So it's going up. The last stage is a little bit low thrust to weight ratio. It's a little bit higher just than 1, so it's somewhat hard, but it's possible to do this. And from this point on, it's just the usual rendezvous. I'm in lower orbit, so I try to set up a point where I can meet the mothership and brake when I'm close to it. Well, brake in this sense means that I have to raise the periapsis to the target orbit. So I'm very close, and I detached the last tank with the engines. And yes, they used their own engines, so no separatrons. Probably they crashed into the surface. I didn't check it, but it is designed so to do it at a strange angle to avoid hitting the mothership. And here is the problem, because what I had to fight, I couldn't create a maneuver node, so because of this I had to reload the game. I didn't want to do this. I wanted to do it without reloading, but I had to do this because without that it's impossible to do it, or well, you have to be really good to do it without maneuver rods, and I am not that good. So I tried to raise the orbit, so leaving the sphere of influence, but it didn't work, and still couldn't create a maneuver node, so I had to load it back. That's sad. So after the reload, everything was working correctly. So I could set my other target, which is obviously late. I have a small SSTO spaceplane on this thing, and it can just barely do carbon orbit, low carbon orbit, but it is very, very good on late. I mean, I had to do some trickery with the orbits to get my encounter with minimal time and fuel. So I waited a few orbits, and just with minimal change I was in the sphere of influence of late. And after that there is a long and boring aero capture session, but I had to speed up really fast. So this air braking became really tedious and long. around 45 minutes long because I couldn't go deep into the atmosphere. Somehow those solar panels which are sticking out were heating up very fast. They didn't do that before. They were heating up, but not this way. So I had to be very careful, and shallow air braking followed. Several orbits and a long time to do. And finally, it was almost perfect. I had 120 kilometers circularization in goal, and it was 117 and 120, so it was okay. So detaching the shuttle, I call it the late shuttle advanced. It didn't really inherit this name, and I was too lazy to change it because of the merged files. It inherited the title name, but it doesn't matter. The thing is, it can tolerate very high amounts of heat. It doesn't have any power source, so it cannot operate alone because it's on batteries only. But as you can see here, changing its angle of attack can be a very effective way to set the desired landing point. And I wanted to set this point just before the shores of this island so that I can land there with the jets safely with relatively low speed. So I had to have some time to decrease the speed correctly. The hard thing in this is that there is this slope and we have to land on a slope, but otherwise it's working fine. It's quite easy to do it with this one, very sturdy. There is a ladder at the back, but actually in a more even surface it's possible to just retake the landing gear and just hop out of it and hop on to the wing and then from the wing to the top. So we don't really need a ladder, but I put it there for convenience. And sometimes, yeah, they fell down. And again, they just look at the shore, what is just right in front of them. Nothing there actually. Unfortunately, there was no good view this time around, but later on when I was taking off, it was better. This is again just a visit and not really any science in mind. So now I have to wait until the mothership gets into position, which is quite soon. I can start. It started less easy as I thought it would, but still it's easy to fly it up to orbit from late. It's not really heating up, so it's really sturdy. And you can see Jool rising on the horizon, which is always a good view from late. It is the hard part of this mission is over. I just have to do the rendezvous, which is something I've done many times. So I have a lot of reserve fuel because this SSTO is just barely cabin capable. It has a lot of reserves for late. I think I have to be precise or very good. Can wait out of fuel. The docking is a bit harder with this because I have to go into that hole in the middle, so threading the needle, so to say, but it's not that hard. Holding the sonar panels is just for safety to not hit them. Yeah, first I hit this girder or segment there, but then I could do what I wanted, the docking. So this ship can take this space plane back to Kerbin, but it's not very useful because it doesn't have enough delta V to brake around Kerbin to capture, unless it's a narrow capture, but it doesn't have heat shields for that, and like 4,500 meters per second, this would not survive it. So I decided to leave this here, because it can be used later on. It's not debris, it's a completely operating ship, and when on race it doesn't use battery power, so it can be here indefinitely. Just using up the remaining fuel in these huge tanks. After that, bye bye. So now we are down to a single tank, and this is a lot more than we want to actually. A lot of reserves, so I can do a direct leaving of Jool without any playing around with the encounters, and last time it didn't turn out that well, so I thought I would avoid it this time for safety. Now going back is just the same as it was, waiting for the correct point to do this braking maneuver where I can hit Kerbin more or less. So I did not do inclination change for this, so I will have an inclined orbit, but it doesn't matter because I just need to hit the atmosphere, and this is what my goal was, land anywhere. And yeah, this is a lot of waiting actually. Yeah, playing around with the maneuver node, and actually I had to do it twice because first I messed up my maneuver, it wasn't close enough. But after that there is this long wait, and really it's really long, like 5 minutes or so. The same as coming out is the same as going in, so it takes a lot of time. But finally we are near Kerbin, and we can have a precision maneuvering. I use up the remaining fuel for slowing down the re-entry pods. 30 kilometers periapsis, so that they are not that fast. So finally, this is the final stretch, and I realized that as I'm going towards the rising sun, those mountains are familiar. I was actually going towards the space center, but I didn't have any means to control this, so I overshot it and landed in the ocean. But it's not a problem. I have engines on this just for minor corrections, and for landing actually, if it's landing in the water, it needs some engine power because the bottom part is the most fragile of all, this glass dome. So finally they are back at home. Thanks for watching. Bye.